A very common topic that is discussed within this game is the amount of nerfs that each season brings, and that we don't get enough buffs. A lot of people say we just need to start buffing the weak and stop nerfing things that are too strong because things are starting to feel slower than they used to feel. And overall, the game just feels worse because of it. Well, I decided to go through every single patch note and tally up the total amount of nerfs and buffs the game has received since launch. This took way too long, so you better subscribe for all the hard work. I also broke down each season along with which class got what buffs and nerfs. Now let's get into each season here. I want to note that some numbers won't add up, such as how many nerfs and buffs might not line up with how many each class received. This is because buffs that affect all classes, say if like a flashbang or whatever got changed, this won't count towards any class. But if something like Explomine that affects 2 classes gets affected, then this will count for one of each class. Also keep in mind, some items have swapped classes, but I will count the buff for the season in question. So if Tracking Dark got changed while Medium had it, that will count as a nerf or a buff for that class. I also will include some things considered bugs that were fixed, because if they have a considerable impact on the strength of the weapon or gadget or specialization in question, I feel like that should be considered a buff or a nerf. So I hope this clears up everything. Now let's get into some numbers. Season 1 had a total of 18 buffs and 27 nerfs. The classes that received said nerfs and buffs are as follows: Light with 9 buffs and 5 nerfs, Medium with 5 buffs and 11 nerfs, and our winner for Season 1, being the most nerfed, was Heavy, with only 3 buffs and a whopping 14 nerfs. There are a few buffs and nerfs here that I'd like to point out, because in retrospect, they're actually pretty hilarious. Recon Sense was buffed from 2-second activation to a 1-second activation. It's kind of crazy to think this got buffed at some point. Mesh Shield actually started at 1250 HP. It's crazy how much that this has actually fallen, and yet it still seems to be one of the most popular things to use as a specialization. I'd say it's almost tied with Winch, but I definitely see more Mesh in high elo. Kind of crazy to see where it started. Stun effect used to be 5 seconds long. The effect was even stronger during the beta too. I didn't actually count anything during the betas, closed betas, open betas, only right after launch. But even at launch, the stun was actually insane. So it's actually really silly to see how strong things used to be considering the current state that they sit at. The M60 was buffed to 22 damage at one point. Currently it sits at 19, but it got buffed to 22 damage during Season 1, and people still didn't even blink an eye at it. So at some point everyone felt the M60 needed a buff, and well, look at it where it is now. Oof. We saw a nerf to the revolver. Even though this weapon has never been considered meta or OP, this gun ended up receiving a nerf. Now, let's get into Season 2, and overall we had more of an even split actually. 21 buffs and 23 nerfs. And Light again getting more buffs than nerfs, 9 buffs and 6 nerfs. Medium with 5 buffs, and winning the nerf war with 10 nerfs during Season 2. Kind of crazy considering how strong they are now. But we're going to keep getting into this. Finally, we have Heavy with an even 6 to both nerfs and buffs. Some interesting ones to note. This season saw the massive nerf to nukes, which mainly impacted Heavy. Despite only 6 nerfs on Heavy, the nuke was actually a massive nerf to its power. I'd say this was actually very positively received though. I'm not complaining. I just kind of wanted to note that. Medium got a lot of nerfs this season, but mainly around trying to balance out the FCAR and defib, and it felt like we were kind of on the right track here. As we all know, in the future, the model just started to slowly creep up in popularity, as it just hasn't really been touched at all. But in terms of ARs, we're kind of in a much better spot amongst the ARs being equally powerful. Now to cover some Season 3 stats, but only up to where we are now, which is 23 buffs and 21 nerfs. Surprisingly, this season we have got more buffs than nerfs. However, please take note that some of these nerfs were much heavier hitting than the buffs, such as throwing knives, getting absolutely huge nerfs during this season. The Lewis gun and M60 basically getting completely gutted. I think this approach during Season 3 was to do very tiny buffs like we saw with the 9-3R getting just slight recoil changes, and then doing very big nerfs like the Lewis gun. However, we do see that we're still in more buffs, and overall, we're starting to even out every other season. So which class got the most love and which got the most hate this season? Well, Light got an even 8 buffs and 8 nerfs. Medium got 5 buffs and 4 nerfs, and Heavy got 7 buffs and 7 nerfs. Some notable patches in Season 3 would be the LH1 being buffed this season in the beginning, then promptly nerfed. Surprising a lot of people considering the LH1 was actually considered good, so the buff was kind of weird. And also, throughout all the seasons, please consider that LH1 actually received multiple buffs. Tons of tiny little incremental, like 1 damage buffs. But the one nerf that the LH1 did receive actually undid all the buffs, and it is now currently sitting at the worst it has ever been. This also includes the betas. Basically, the LH1 is currently in the worst state, which I think is very interesting, considering how many buffs it's received along the way. The Dome Shield nerf to 5.5 seconds was intended by the devs to not make the Dome Shield used for stealing cash outs. They want players to secure the area before stealing, which is interesting, as the Dome Shield is still used for stealing, especially in combination with the Mesh Shield. I think the tactic of using a Dome Shield to steal wasn't necessarily a complaint a lot of people had, so it is kind of interesting to see this nerf. However, as we see in the current meta, the Dome Shield is still used very commonly, and it's used very well, and it's still a very effective tool, but it is interesting to see the devs make a note as to the reason why they're changing things like that. I would like to see more of that in the future. Now, these stats do not mean that because one class received more nerfs, it's the worst class. Or if something receives so many nerfs, it means that it's the best class because it's OP. It's purely just an interesting look at the topic of does Embark nerf too much? And honestly, I think I'd say yes. A lot of the nerfs we have seen have had a very big impact on gameplay. The nuke nerf, recon being removed, these big nerfs that have massive impact. However, these changes by the majority of players are positively received. The thing I want to note is the expected time to kill of a lot of fights in this game has drastically gone down, with explosives being nerfed multiple times, burst being nerfed in the form of explosives, weapons, all at the top basically just keep being nerfed. The average time to kill from Season 1 is now much slower, meaning the fights last longer. It seems their solution to balancing this out has been to nerf stuff like shields in order to make them not too impactful now that fights last longer. The heal beam was also nerfed as an answer to this, but at the rate at which it heals, it's still so high that it's kind of creeping up on the point where healing a player can actually just do more healing than damage from the other player in some cases. And with the potential damage per magazine kind of going down, this means that you can just heal through someone's entire clip, and then during the reload, you can play aggressive. There's also some other buffs and nerfs to, say, the cash out game mode, such as the defender buff we're dealing with recently, which now allows you to defend your cash out a lot easier, with the ability to survive and sustain so easily now that weapons are weaker, and the burst of explosives also are a little bit weaker. The average fight seems to keep lasting longer and longer each season. Whether this is good or bad, I'm not really sure, but when it comes to the defender buff, it's pretty hard to fully wipe a team in 15 seconds now with all the shields and healing that have still kind of remained in the meta when our weapons are just so weak. Whether this is good or not, I'm really not sure. I do find it interesting how the nerfs from the start have been a much bigger impact than buffs. Stuff like the 9-3R is still one of the worst picks in the game, and the so-called buffs that they've done to it have just ended up making it still the worst weapon. I believe this weapon has received more buffs than nerfs, but it's still arguably the worst weapon. I also find a lot of the Heavy's arsenal just doesn't feel good to use anymore. The overwhelming amount of nerfs Heavy has received and the hard-hitting nerfs that they receive have just made a lot of the Heavy class just feel really bad to use, despite them still being a very strong class. The RPG, Dome, Mesh, Winch, and SA-12 are all still very strong, but whenever I play Heavy, I feel like I'm very restricted on what weapons I can actually use if I want to take the class seriously and push it to its potential. Because the balancing just feels very out of whack in comparison to what I remember it being. Some of the main problems with the class go unaddressed, and stuff that needs some love sometimes gets nerfed or just left behind to rot. I would love to see there be a little bit more variety in the choices that you can bring to still feel like you are being able to put up a competition with other heavies. But if you're not rocking like the SA-12 or the Sledgehammer, you are putting yourself kind of at a disadvantage. The KS-23 does have its place, and if you spend tons of time on the Lewis, it's not the worst, but overall, they just are very far in terms of, you know, an S tier to like an A tier, B tier. Like, it just feels really restrictive. Medium also has a weird case where a lot of the balancing feels like it has been around the fact everyone uses defib and heal beam. It's got the point where people will say if a medium doesn't use heal beam and doesn't use defib that they're trolling or throwing the game. There are players like Sanguine Knights. Shout out to him. He uses the model with DMAT and no defib. You can also use the revolver and the FAMAS. But the nerfs to the guns and other aspects of the medium class seem to be under the assumption that since they can bring an ally back using the defib and that they can heal people during a fight instead of actually using their gun, that since they do have some damage in their class, that we must nerf the damage. This is another case where medium has fantastic options, but can feel again very restricted because the power of stuff like heal beam and defib outweigh the rest. Model has also slowly crept up as one of the strongest weapons. The model has not been touched. It's just the nerfs to everything else that put the model where it is. I'd love medium to be able to play more than just the healer or the support. The sandbox in this game feels a bit muddy in cases like this, where if you don't play meta, you can be considered a troll. Light, interestingly enough, has 2 more gadgets than both other classes and has 3 more weapons than the others. So Light doesn't suffer from this issue. They actually have a variety of viable options to use and make them play a lot more fun. It's not like you have 3 different ARs that are all pretty similar. You could play as a stealthy SMG player. You could play as a really fast dashing melee user. Or if you want to go long range, you could be a sniper. You could use the LH. Or if you want to throw knives, use a bow. It's got multiple viable options that actually increase the what I would call subclasses of the class. And realistically, a lot of these are actually pretty viable. But despite all of this, it's still considered the weakest class. I think buffs and nerfs are so tricky when one class has so many more options than the other classes. Of course, medium and heavy feel so restricted when they literally have less options. I'd rather see stuff that has been at the bottom so long, like the 9.3R on light, or even the proximity motion sensor that is on heavy. You know, there's other stuff that you might never see from day to day and even forget that it's in the game. It'd be nice to see these things brought up to a more viable level than just constantly nerfing the best thing over and over again, because the next best thing is just going to take its place. It sort of seems like when you look at a lot of the classes, medium and heavy have these crutches where they have a lot of like S tier picks that make them extremely strong, and that's kind of what everybody's on. And then you look at light and there's just a lot of maybe like B or A tier picks, and there's not too many things in that class that are like an S tier pick that really makes it shine in the meta. So there's a variety of different lights running out there with tons of different builds that are considered, you know, relatively balanced or fair. But then you look at stuff like medium and it's like you have maybe 1 or 2 loadouts and the rest of them are just so inferior. Or again, you look at heavy and there's times where it's like, oh, I don't see them using winch or mesh. I don't see them with an SA-12. This is probably going to be a free kill for me. The difference is it's just so vast that I think this should be something that we kind of look at in terms of giving an equal amount of options for each class. There should be an equal amount of gadgets, an equal amount of weapons. I think this is adding to the confusion between higher elo and lower elo and what they find to be balanced for them versus what's fun. And there's just a lot of different aspects that we're looking at, and I think this particular thing is adding to that confusion. I would also love to use the Lewis gun again. I'm sure if you guys go back to some of my old gameplay, you're probably going to see a lot of Lewis gun, especially during Season 1 and Season 2. But it's really hard to use a Lewis gun without giving my arm a full-on workout every time I gotta control that gun's recoil. Admittedly, the game is more balanced now than before, so hopefully with some good changes in Season 4, we can reach a much better state of balance. Thank you to all my members. Comment below what nerfs and buffs you want to see for Season 4. Get prepared for some big changes in Season 4, and I will see you in the finals. He was not on point. Who cares? Get on point with your heavy.
You shouldn't be fighting anyway. You should be sucking me off.
That's honestly very true.
See this cock? See this cock count? Look. What do you... Let me go through the fucking portal.
Let's get up to sea.
The two teams are fighting, so I'm just gonna wait for my gateway, and then we can do like a little gateway play up there. Be a lot safer. We can do a. We can probably do a. What if we do a gate pad?
That's what I was gonna put.
Oh my...
Frames.
I've seen this in a
They're
video
cooked.
before.
I would have saw this in a fucking video.
If you put your gateway here, pad here, and just chuck it up.
Alright.
There.
Amazing.
Oh, they broke my bed. I don't know why I put it down.
You already put it down.
I put it. I don't know why I put it. I don't know why.
It's cooked.
I
Hey, let me know when you have your pad up.
I have it up.
Okay.
Oh, we're gonna. Oh, okay.
W. But they have fucking 17 glitch mines. I don't even know where. Retreat.
I don't even know where.
Port.
Yeah. Oh.
Nah, but for real though, I got no idea where they were.
Oh, fucking. That heavy has to be playing Sledge or something because the buildings just keep breaking.
You see the retro invasion?
Yeah, but there was another building that was broken before the retro invasion happened. That shit was spinning.
No.
This guy might be little, but he will eat my whole fucking heel gun. Ah.
I mean, why isn't everyone else here actually?
Je ne sais pas, mon
Fucking
ami.
Orange has 6 kills. How is this possible?
Cause they suck.
No, how did they get like that cash out for like so free though? Like, I'm stuck in this fucking tree.
Smack that wood.
Got it. I did.
What am I hitting, bro? Fuck. I was like so worried to leave there, and then the moment I leave, there's just a full orange team there.
Where is my...
Now you grab the coins. I was debating whether or not to go res Appy.
I don't know.
I'm hearing
I got 3 coins.
I know, I said, and then I checked leaderboard, and then I was like, oh, it's 2.69. Oh!
Yeah, just steal. You want it that bad? Steal. Oh, my own goo cucks me.
Oh,
Yippee!
Naturally means that we're mixing things up. The team that earns 20,000 first will emerge victorious.
Alright, let's get it.
Our teams have shown great heart to get to this point.
I fucking missed.
Vault 1 is being
The lights grapple, that's all I remember.
Enemy spotted.
See his little box head peeking through.
The powerhouse has got hold of a cash box.
Disrupting their tech.
One's like way behind here. Kind of big. Oh. Couldn't see it because of the red barrel in my hand. W.
You have no red barrel.
Yeah, I know. I wonder what happened to it.
I fell off the fucking map.
Jesus.
He's behind me. Yeah, I'm not resing.
I hope the viewers at home are ready for a wild ride.
Oh, he dematted down.
It's not even worth going for. 'Cause it's gonna take. Okay, I missed everything. This guy was just came out of fucking nowhere. Right below you. Yeah. Behind you.
Just coin, just coin.
I'm waiting.
Gateway 1 out.
Anything.
Only one left, only one left.
Litecoin.
Wait, what just happened, June?
Rapid reflexes. This match is on fire. Not fair. Blitz grenade out. Frag grenade set.
You know you can walk.
Heavy, these 2 boys. I mean, medium.
I got wins. GG. This hot basement.
Quick melee? No.
Frag grenade set.
Well, thank you for the carry, y'all.
Way to open the match. The Boundless land the first cash out.
A contestant is collecting eliminations one after another.
The hell? The hell, bro?
Blitz grenade. Frag grenade out.
What? That's just goo here?
Frag gateway going out.
This heavy is tweaking.
Glitching some screens. Frag grenade out.
Okay, yeah.
I got cooked.
Where is he? Oh, he's dead.
I think he
Killed
rocked
himself.
I don't know what the fuck he did.
For the heavy, yeah, no, you don't.
The medium, I heard medium going back for ASUS.
I heard a noise over here. They're all back up.
Heavy and light only have 1 coin.
grab the money or no? Is that not possible?
Placing a gateway. Teleport here.
Money, Mr. Squidward, money.
The Boundless swooped up a cash box.
Enemy spotted. Down there. Enemy spotted. Down there.
Fuck me.
The Boundless are initiating a cash out.
Where are they at?
Medium is on the floor below me and lights right on me. I think I might die to light. Nope, he's very bad.
I'd still die.
Yeah, I did. I missed. I got him one. They're all on top. They're all looking right up that.
I got outskilled by an RPG. How'd that do? Wait, what? When did I take FAMAS damage?
Probably at the same time, because they were all standing there invisible.
I'm up in 5 seconds. Oh, if we can handle that heavy.
Maybe not.
You know,
These two by though.
nice plays that make the biggest difference.
12 seconds. Heavy's already out. You got defense. Yeah, you got defense.
Strategic steal.
Yeah, come back up.
Seriously tip the odds, but they might tip back.
I'm dead. I got winched. Ah, damn it.
Fuck. I was trying to hit the light, but the fucking heavy kept getting in my way.
Red hand.
Fuck.
Oh. Fuck.
Turn up the power. The powerhouses have just cashed out. And just like that, a new vault is appearing.
What the fuck? That was through the wall.
First team wipe, and the crowd goes wild.
Need to lock in, gamers.
Now could stay on my ass.
Good luck with that.
I got winch clawed.
Were you going up?
Yes. He RPG'd me and then winch clawed me.
Respawn alert. The Boundless are back in action.
I remember RPGs.
There's a breach over at Vault
I
3 by the
was right
powerhouses.
behind you.
That's
Actually, we go. My brown B. I'm gonna bring the B. Assuming.
Or D, which comes this way anyway.
The powerhouses grabbed a cash box.
Yeah, they're coming this way.
Time to go.
Cash out started by our leading team, the powerhouses. If they maintain control, they'll be flexing as our undisputed winners.
Heavy's out. Lights low.
Fuck. He's in the hallway. I defibbed. All 3 of them up.
I'm not here.
Adversity for the Boundless.
Right.
Wipe out.
I just need help with this heavy. I cannot kill him.
I think that'll stay on.
The Boundless are back in play.
If we knock it off, will it go back to its original spot, or where's it gonna go?
Not too sure.
It'll go back to the last, like, solid ground it was on before that. So it'll just be, like, on the edge above.
Like a,
Talk about
oh wow.
a strategic steal.
The heavy fucked that up.
Medium, medium, medium.
You should know by now that anything can
Where the fuck did he go? Oh, he jump headed. I can't hear you.
You play point.
Now with me.
Yeah, I was with on the fucking point.
Whose decision was that? He's low.
He's fucking 5 bars. He's rezzing.
When it went back there, I was like, oh my god, if they're ready for it, I'm fucked. Take those.
The most scuffedest fucking final rounds in existence, I swear.
True.